The Shark Deck.
A local comedy podcaster recorded a 12-minute podcast and realized he forgot to unmute his microphone, resulting in none of the podcast being recorded. Sources say the episode spoke about Jim Gaffigan, Mark Norman, and Jeff Dunham, but was lost to time due to the incompetent behavior of the host. Welcome to Take Two. Tampa Bay Date Night Guide caught up with Jim Gaffigan. Hey, Jim Gaffigan, a lot of the content you do is focused on your home life and family. How do your kids feel about that? Gaffigan said, yeah, it's so interesting because, being a comedian is similar at every stage where you have children. There's a point where they're like, they don't know what you do. They're maybe impressed at some point, and then they're like, not impressed. But I would say they're an endless source of material. And if you're not complaining about your kids, you're not present enough. You know what I mean? Jim is making me laugh here because my kids have no idea what I do. I call it, I go down to the basement, I talk to myself, and it probably from them, they're like, why is dad home all day? What is he even doing all day? Because it looks like I'm goofing off on the laptop all day. But, I have to write these things. I have to edit them. I have to post them to social media. I'm not saying I'm a construction worker out in the 100-degree heat. I'm not complaining at all. But I could see my kids being like, what do you do all day, Dad? Tampa Bay Date Night Guide, which is your home for comedy, I forgot to mention that, said to Jim, your 17-year-old son, Jack Gaffigan, has performed before and even opened for you at one point. Is that something he wants to continue doing? Will he follow in your footsteps? Jim said, granted, my son is 17, but you never have an idea of how long this interest is going to last, A kid could be really into Buzz Lightyear, so you convert their room into a Buzz Lightyear thing, and then they're like, I don't like Buzz Lightyear anymore. I also want to encourage them, but I don't want to force him to do it. He's done it a bunch. But I'm also very much in the approach of letting him bring it up to me when he wants to do it. Good parenting, Jim Gaffigan. What about the other kids? Jim said, they're all kind of funny. It's weird. Sometimes even in parent-teacher conferences, the teacher will be like, your child's very funny. And I'm like, I want them to learn to read and write. So it's one of those things, you're just following along, seeing where it's going to happen. Mark Norman and Sam Morill do a podcast called We Might Be Drunk, in which they drink. Talk about the comedy world and ramble through random recommendations and observations. Out of that, they've released a special label booze called Bodega Cat Whiskey. It reflects on their lives in New York, where there are bodegas on many corners. Sam Morill said, there's something special about the bodega experience, like the weird little guy behind the counter who knows way too much about your life. He sees you at 2 a.m., and then he sees you again at 10 a.m. He sees you making the mistake, and then he sees you paying for the mistake the next morning. Cracked has an article, 11 comedian action figures you can find on eBay ranked by how much they're going for. Are you ready for these? First up, $9.93 will get you Dan Aykroyd as Beldar the Conehead. Number 10, the Blue Collar Comedians for $17. Now, as part of the licensing deal, it's just Jeff, Larry, and Bill. Ron White apparently did not get a doll. Also, the description says, squeeze their ample beer bellies, and each one spouts off one of 6 homespun jokes. Now, Larry's got a bit of a belly. Jeff Foxworthy does not. Bill Engvall does not. I'd actually describe Jeff Foxworthy as skinny. Been in the room with all 3 of these men many times. So I don't know why the Jeff Foxworthy doll would have a beer belly. By the way, according to the listings, Bill and Larry the Cable Guy need new batteries. Guess people didn't play with the Bill Engvall one that much. Next up, for $20, John Belushi in his Animal House persona with the college shirt. $29.26 would get you a Borat, but only the head. It's a custom-made Borat 1/6 scale head direct from Kazakhstan by way of China. The description is 100% brand new and high quality. Very nice. This next one, for $32, Colin Quinn, Jay Leno, and Robert Klein. It's a set. Crack says maybe you want to recreate a lost 1993 episode of The Tonight Show or raise money for the homeless by putting on your own Comic Relief 13. Abbott and Costello, a set for $49.95. Gabe Kaplan. Looks like it's in the original Welcome Back Kotter packaging. $57.29 if you want to play with Mr. Kotter. It's been almost 50 years. I'd leave that in the packaging at this point. A custom Bill Burr will run you $100. This is not a Mandalorian figure. This is Bill Burr as a comedian in a blue shirt and some black pants, comes with a microphone, and it's on a faux back Kenner card that looks like a Star Wars backing card, but it is not, is a custom. The third one is someone named Egashira, who I was unfamiliar with, apparently a Japanese comedian. And as I mentioned on the open, this is the second time I'm doing this list, and it wasn't that interesting the first time, so skip it, move along. Number 2, Rob Schneider, San Francisco Giants edition, $200. This is Rob Schneider in plaid pants wearing a San Francisco Giants jersey. Not sure why that exists, But Crack points out there are 13 of them on eBay. You can buy the one for $200, but somebody else is selling it for $17.97. And the one that boggles the mind is a signed Gabriel Iglesias Funko Pop going for $4,000. Cracked writes, for some reason, Funko has released countless editions of Fluffy figures. There's Tapatio Fluffy, Stadium Fluffy, Away Stadium Fluffy, Fluffy with Dogs, Day of the Dead Fluffy, all more or less with Iglesias accurate body types. But if you want to splurge, this $4,000 signed Pop Comedians edition is for you. Today at the Snow Jam Comedy Festival, are you in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? If you are, I hope you're at the festival. If not, what are you doing? Kicks off today at 11 a.m. Intro to Improv with Improv Falls. 11 a.m. is awesome. I like to go to bed at night. An 11 a.m. show? I'm there. That's at Boss Comedy Club. Jackie Cation, she's recording the Dork Forest Live podcast. That's happening at 1 o'clock at the Spellbound Magic Shop and Theater. That sounds like a fun place. Let me look that up. Spellbound Magic Shop resides in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They have a pop-up ad that offers you 10% and messes up your flow as you're trying to read some copy for your podcast. Just pops up and it blocks the sentence you're trying to read. We have a small shop full of beginner magic to advanced routines. We offer classes and have our very own private 50-seat theater for parlor shows and variety acts. Looks like a good time. At 5 o'clock, awesome start time again. So cool. The Snowflakes Comedy Showcase. 10 comedians. Love a 10 comedian showcase. I really, truly enjoy that type of show because you get to see so many new faces and get turned on to new comedians. Plus, it's at 5 o'clock, so I could bang out 10 comedians and a host and then go to bed. Whew, love it. At 7:30, still nice and early, the Hot Cocoa Comedy Showcase. This one also features 10 comedians from around the country, but not the same 10. Boy, back to back, if I could see 20 comedians and be done by 9 p.m., go back to my room, watch the football game tonight. Whew, love this festival. And then a few crazy people that can stay up to midnight. Jackie Cation is your headliner. She's playing at 10 o'clock at Boss's Comedy Club. The Snow Jam Comedy Festival. Nice job, folks. If you want to check out some information, snowjamcomedyfest.com. Decider was asking Jeff Dunham about how the puppets get made. He said, I really seriously didn't get into the dummy making until the mid-'80s when I was in college. Back then, it was plastic, wood, and fiberglass, and those are the mediums that I used until like 10, 12 years ago. I still sculpt them in clay. However, I do have a digital sculptor now that helps me every once in a while. I'll give him notes, and he'll come up with something digitally, and we put it together. But when I have time, I make them out of clay. Then I do a 3D scan, and then I build the shell of dummy with a 3D printer. So yeah, there's still a little human element in there. I like this next part. I hated doing the fiberglass stuff. The Walter that I use now, I made out of fiberglass, and after getting high in the garage, not meaning to, I thought it was a horrible thing. Apparently, fiberglass makes you high. So I would give the sculpts to somebody else, and he would make the fiberglass head for me. But I got out of fiberglass as fast as possible. That is for people who have air filters. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I'm going to make sure I actually save this file. See you tomorrow.